Chapter 12, Part 2 of The Nightland by William Hope Hodgson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Nightland. Chapter 12. Downward of the Gorge, Part 2. And so we went onward amid the smell that did be as of dead things, and oft did we make pause and hark, and had a great care, as we did go by the dull fire-holes and fire-pits, that we should make no showing of ourselves in the light. And sudden, as we did go by a great pit that burned very deep and red, I reached back and caught mine own by the arm, and I set her gaze unto the right side of the gorge which was beyond the fire. And the maid went very still, as she did see the thing that was there, for in verity it was utter monstrous, and did shine very wet-looking in the light of the fire. And truly it moved a little with the head, this way and that, stretching through the dark and the shadows as you shall see a slug to move, and with no speed or sound, and nowise seeming heedful of aught. But yet did I fear that it smelled us, if this might be, and this, as you shall think, to be a very natural fear. And alway, as I do mind, it seemed to go blindly somewise, or to have that slow and strange moving that doth make one to think of a blindness. But whether it did be truly blind, how shall I say, only that it was an utter monstrous brute, so great as the black hull of a ship, and very dreadful unto our hearts. And we moved not for a while, save that I pulled mine own down into the hiding of the boulders of that part, and she to put her hand very anxious unto me. Yet not to be comforted, as I did have to think, but to persuade me, lest that I go to some adventuring that should set me in a surer danger. And this I perceived in a little moment, and loved her for her care. But indeed I had no mind to aught, save that we come clear of that place. And I watched the monster through places between the boulders, and surely in a little while it swayed the great head very slow and quiet unto the cliff that did make that side of the gorge, and the brute set unto the cliff, and began that it went upward with a strange moving of muscles that did go wavewise under the wet and horrid gleaming hide. And so in a little time it was gone quiet against the cliff, and the head part did be upward in the darkness above, so that it did be from our sight. But the monster body did be plain for a great way, and was seeming clung to the cliff, and to come downward out of the dark, as that it did be a great black ridge of soft and dreadful life upon the face of the cliff, and the tail was something less bulked and to taper, and did trail outward into the gorge upon the boulders. And surely the thing did seem as that it slept, but that odd whiles the tail did lift a little off the boulders, and curl somewise, and afterward come down again upon the boulders, mayhap in this place, and mayhap in that place, as we did watch, all hid. And it was as that our sense and our spirits did assure us that the thing had no wotting of us, but surely our fears did nigh to equal the comfort of this sweet reason, and to make us think otherwise. Yet in a time I made that we go forward together through the spaces that did be among the boulders, and I went creeping, and the maid to follow likewise. And oft I did pause, and made a watching upon the monster, but truly it moved not, save as I have told. And I kept a great heed upon the maid, that she follow alway close unto my feet. And in the end we came safe from that place where the monster did be clung unto the great cliff in the night. And we went then for 2 great hours without adventure, save that once the maid touched me that we pause, for that something went by us where we did be in an utter dark place of the gorge, and no fire-hole anigh. And I knew that the thing did be near, even as the maid touched me. And caught I the maid in the dark, and thrust her under the side of a boulder, and I crouched then before her with mine armour, that I should protect her from any brutish thing. And the discos in my hand, and afterward an horrid time of waiting. And the stink of that part of the gorge grew very dreadful, so that it did be as that we should not breathe with the horror of the stink. And there went past us some horrid and utter monster, that made neither sound nor anything, save that there seemed a strange noise that might be the breathing of a great thing. But yet did be all uncertain, in that the sides of the gorge cast the sound this way and that in an horrid whispering of echoes, so that we did not know whether the sound be made anigh to us, or afar upward in the eternity of the night, where I did suppose the mountains to be joined over the gorge in a monstrous roof in that part. And presently the strange noisings died in the upward height and all about us, and the utter disgust of the stink went from us, so that we knew that the monster had gone past us, and did make downward through the dark gorge, and mayhap then to some lone and dreadful cavern of the world, as I did think. And indeed, as I do mind, I had a sudden wonder at that time and other whiles, as it did chance, whether this way did be truly the olden way that the peoples of the Lesser Refuge did travel in the olden days. And surely, as I did suppose, they had come some other way, or the gorge to be different and less dreadful in the far-off years, and this thing you shall agree with me to be a reasonable thinking. And after that the monster had gone a good while, we went onward again, and with a great caution, and dreading alway lest that we come upon that monster in the darkness. But yet did we know by smell and by all our consciousness whether that we come nigh unto one of the monster slugs. Then in the end of the 5th hour, in the dark part of the gorge, we came by the mouth of that great cavern upon our left, and you to remember the same. And I made pause in the darkness, and had the maid very gentle by the arm, that she should look with me. And I whispered how that I passed this place to my right upon mine upward way, and how that I did think there to be a plenty of monster caverns within the mountains that made the sides of the gorge, and that, mayhap, the slug creatures had there an home in such places, or came up, it might be, from some utter strange deepness and mystery of the great world. And the maid did bide very close unto me, and silent, whilst that I whispered. For the terror of the place did be on her, yet not to make her lacking of courage, but yet to put a monstrous awe upon her and a great and natural fear, and I likewise, as you do know. And we stayed there where we did be a little moment, and looked downward into the bowels of the monster cavern. And the shine of the fire-hole beat over the cavern in the near part, but there did be an utter mystery and deathly dark beyond the shining of the pit that did be within, as you shall remember. And in verity, as we stayed but to glance, I perceived that there lay humped things about the fire, and some to be black seeming, and some to have a seeming of whiteness, but with no sureness in the colour to mine eyes. And there came a moving in one of the humped things, so that it did be as that an hill did wake unto an horrid life. And immediately I knew that the humps did be some utter monsters, mayhaps even the great slugs a-slumber about the fire-pit that did burn in that strange, deeply cavern. And I saw that I did ill for our lives, that I should pause even for a little moment to such staring. And immediately I whispered to mine own that we go with all our speed, for indeed I knew not whether that our nearness had waked that monster, or whether that it had but waked by chance. And truly I was utter eager that we be gone from that place, so swift as we might. And we went on then through all of the 6th hour that we did be in the slug part of the gorge, as I named it unto myself. And in all that hour there did nothing harmful come anigh, only, as I did know presently, there came an unease upon our spirits, but yet to be very little at that time, and we to be scarce knowing of it. And alway as we went there did be darkness for the most, and odd whiles a vague murmuring of the night far above, as it did seem. And presently the dull glare of a fire-pit to shine out far off below us in the gorge, and to seem very dim and unreal unto us, by reason of the smokes and the fumes that made a haze and a distaste in the gorge. And presently the murmuring of the night to grow somewhat, and afterward the sound of the muttering of the fire-pit to come unto us, and the murmuring to die into our ears that did be hearing now only the dull muttering, and so we to know that the murmuring of the night did be truly the far-off muttering of the fire-holes, and our eyes to guide our hearing, and our reason to explain and knit the sounds, and so we to pass by the fire-hole with a great quiet and caution and ever with watchfulness, as you shall suppose. And afterward again into the dark, and presently again the murmuring, to tell that we came unto another of the fire-pits, that was yet afar off in the gorge, and made dim echoes in the night. And alway we went very watchful and in grim fear, but with steadfastness and good intention to win forth out of that desolation and horror, and having alway so great a speed as the darkness and the dangers and the trouble of the way did allow. And in this place I will make explanation why that I speak somewhiles of the fire-pits, and otherwhiles of fire-holes. For the holes did be those fires that burn nigh to the brim of the holes, but the pits were those places where the fire was deeply in the earth. And this thing I give for your enlightenment, even on a small matter, so that you shall have a clear knowledge to abide with me all the way, and you to agree of this for wisdom, and I to be pleased that you so agree. And here also I should tell that there did not come a muttering from all of the fire-holes and the fire-pits, but mayhap from this one, and mayhap not from that one, according to the way of the fire therein. And this shall be plain unto you. And so shall you see us go, and the smoke and the bitterness of the sulphur to be all about us, and oddwhiles the murmuring of a far-off pit, and oft the utter silence, and to pass this time a lonesome fire-hole, and afterward the utter dark, or the half-gloom, all as might chance according to the nearness of the fires. And upward in the everlasting night the grim mountains to make a roof over us, as I did suppose. And all this while did the unease of which I have told make upon us, so that presently mine own whispered unto me the thing that already my spirit did have to perceive, that there came after us through the night some harmful thing, that did be surely no great way off, as I did feel within me, and the maid to have a likewise belief. And truly I thought at once upon that brute that did wake downward in the mighty cavern, where did be the great inward fire-hole, as I have told. But whether this did be true knowledge that we did be chased in the dark by that thing, or whether there came after us some other monster, I could have no sureness, but only that we did be chased, and of this I had assuredness. And I set the maid before me, that I have myself ready to the danger that followed, and we made forward again then, so quick as we were able, and she went very wisely, for she had good wit and had noted the ways of my leading. And we went thus until the end of the 7th hour, and surely in that time we heard the murmuring in the night which told of a fire-hole somewise before us, and soon to have the red glare plain to our eyes, and the noise of the murmuring to die away into the nearer mutter of the fire, and so presently to be anigh, and we to make forward with a good speed, because that we feared utterly the thing that made quiet chase of us through the night. And oft I did look backward, and smelt the air, that I know whether it did be a monster slug-beast that chased us, but there did be no worseness of the smell to tell me aught. And alway I did be fretted in the heart that we make no greater speed. But indeed, as you shall perceive, our going did be but a slow thing in the dark places, and even thus we had many a sore tumbling and bruising. And by this we were come almost unto the fire-hole, and immediately I saw that I knew the place, for there went upward beside the fire a great jaggedness of rock, that I had seen upon mine upward way. And surely I caught the maid in an instant, and bent her, and she quick to obey with her body, and we were both immediately hid downward among the boulders. And this I did because I minded how that there did be many of the monsters nigh to this same fire-hole as I did go upon mine upward way. And we went forward then with an utter care, but yet to keep onward, because that there did be somewhat in chase of us. And in verity, when that we were come opposite unto the fire-hole, I saw that there did be 7 of the monster slugs against the far side of the gorge, and did be all set upon their bellies against the cliff, and their horrid heads to be hid in the upward dark, and their tails to lie very great and soft seeming in the bottom of the gorge upon the boulders. And lo, the maid touched me, and she drew me to look upon the near cliff of the gorge. And truly there did be 3 of the brutish things laid upward there, and a 4th did be humped somewhat upon a great ledge that did be upward of the gorge, and just to be plain to our eyes. And surely it was as that we did be all surround by such monsters, and to make the heart sink and fear to lie upon our hopefulness. But indeed the maid showed a good spirit, and I to have fierce determining that we come free of that gorge, and afterward in time unto our mighty home. And we made forward again, and did go creeping among the rocks and the boulders, and so came presently past that place, and had not waked the monsters, if that indeed they did truly sleep. And I made halt a moment upon the far border of the light from the fire-hole, and I looked backward up the gorge, perchance that I should see the thing that followed us. But indeed there came nothing out of the dark of the upward gorge, so that I knew that there did be some safe space to our backs, which did be truly a comforting thing. And here I should tell how that there was no great stinking in that place where did be so many of the slug beasts, and this to puzzle me, and in the end to make me think that some of those horrid things did stench more great than others. But yet I to have no certainty in this matter, as you do perceive. And truly this thing troubled me, for I had been comforted that my nose should tell me when that the thing that made chase of us should draw nigh in the darkness, and now in verity I knew not what to have for assurance, for the awareness of the spirit was but a vague thing, and no more in such a matter than a feeling as of an inward warning. And we went onward then for a great hour, and with an horrid unease upon us. And thrice did we go by fire-pits in the darkness, and alway I made pause upon the far side of the light, that I should look backward, but did have no sight of aught, yet did my spirit or my fears warn me with new fear, and a greater sense of nearness, and the maid to confess also to this thing. Now we saw not any of the slugs for a long while, neither had there been any about the 3 fire-holes, and the air of the gorge was grown something sweet and free somewhat of the stench and dead-seeming things, but yet to be very bitter with fumings and smoke and sulphur stinks. And lo, in the middle of the 10th hour, as we did go, painful and with anxiousness in a very dark place of the gorge, there came unto us again the smell that told to us that one of the monsters did be anigh, and surely we had both a great fear, in that we had belief that it did be a sign that the thing that made chase did draw near upon us. But yet did I to use my reason also, and to know that the stink might be from some monster that we were come nigh to in the darkness of that place. And I whispered this unto the maid, and she to say, very hushed, that it might be so, but to have no belief, and I to be likewise, as you do see. And we pushed forward at a new speed, and had many bitter falls, so that we did be all bruised, but not to know it at that time, because that our fear did be so keen. And oft we made a little pause and harked, but there did be only the dismal drip of water from on high, and presently the murmur of the night that told that we drew near unto a new fire-pit. And surely this was a great easement to our spirits, in that we should have light to perceive our danger, and mayhap to win free. But to be in that utter dark was a thing to break the courage, and to breed belief that we did be utter helpless, and all wrapped in horror and despair. And the stink grew ever, as we made forward, so that I knew not whether there did be great monsters beside the fire-pit that was to our front, as I have told, or whether it made plain the advancing of the pursuer, and we only to be able to make our best speed, and to be weary with hope that we rush not blind into death, and alway to be chilled in the back with the belief that the thing that made chase did be very close in that utter dark, and to gain upon us. and we knew not whether to make our belief to be the tellings of the Spirit or the utterings of our fears, and so shall you perceive our plight, and we but to be able to make forward. And in verity the dreadfulness of that time doth shake me now to think upon, and you also, if that you have gotten my tellings to your hearts, so that your human sympathy doth be with me. And there came presently to our ears the far mutter of the fire-pit, so that very soon the murmuring was lost to us in the night, and only the slow mutter to be plain. And the dull looming of the fire shone afar off, through the night and the smoke and fumings, and we to a great speed, and to pant with fear, but yet with a freshness of hope again to sweeten us. And we came nigh to the fire-pit, and lo, the smell did be grown very drear and foul, but there did be no slug-beast near the fire. And by this we perceived that we did be truly in an utter danger, in that the pursuer did be upon us, and the stinking to tell this to be truth, and our spirits to have warned us very strong and proper. And I stopped near to the fire-pit, which did be great, and very red-glowing, and I looked upward of the gorge into the night of the gorge that we did come from, but the monster was not yet upon us to work our death. And I looked to the sides of the gorge, and the maid to have the same thought that did be mine, that we climb the mountains that made the sides of the gorge. And I looked very keen first to this side, and then did run overward, that I looked more close upon the other, and afterward back again, for it did seem that we should have a greater ease upon the side that we did be. And I asked the maid whether that she did be prepared, and she to be very white and wearied, and all besmirched with the dankness and growths upon the boulders and the hidden pools of the gorge and the dripping of the waters. But yet did she be sound in her courage, and to show that she had all belief and abiding in me, and her judgment likewise to be with mine, in that her own reason did approve. And I took the bundle of her torn clothing from her, for it did be at her girdle, and like to trouble her movings, but she to refuse, very determined, in that I did be already overburdened. And I to be firm in my deciding, and to make her to yield the bundle, the which I hooked unto the hold of the discos, where it did be to mine hip. And the maid to be there, a little figure, and white in the face, and strangely angered, and her anger mixed with hidden acknowledgment that I did be her master, and half to be minded that she move not from where she did stand, and part to be reasonable and fearful of the hidden beast, and in part also to thrill in her womanhood unto the man that did be so masterful unto her. And all to pass in a little moment, and we to be to the gorge side, and busied very eager to the climb. And the maid to be first, as I did heed, and I to follow, and have constant looking to the task, and to her safety, and alway to be bitter anxious for our speed to be good, and to be anxious the more then, lest that mine own should slip, for there did be an horrid wetness upon the sides of the gorge, as you shall have guessed, and horrid growths that blotched the great rocks mightily, and made an utter slipperiness, if that they did be trod upon. And we to have to come so clear of all such matters as we might, and yet to be speedy for our lives, and likewise to lack no care and thought to the setting of our hands and of our feet in places fitted to the lifting of our weight. And truly you shall see that we went very desperate, and I to give word to the maid that she look not downward, the which I was urgent upon, lest that she come giddy in the heart. But I, as you shall think, could scarce to keep from fearful peerings below, so that I learned speedy whether the pursuer did come yet into the light of the fire-hole beneath. And presently the maid did gasp very weak and troubled with the soreness of the climb, and I came higher, and set mine arm about her, as we did be there upon the face of the cliff. And she stopped very still a little while, and an ease did come to her, and an assurance of safety. And surely I kissed her there where we did be in that upward place, and her lips did tremble unto mine, and her courage and strength to come back into her, so that in a minute she did make once more to the climbing. And we came presently to a place where a great ledge did be, that jutted out from the mighty cliff, and was surely a huge way above the gorge bottom. And the ledge sloped, and there were on the ledge great stones and boulders that did make lodgment there through eternity. And I looked very careful to our way, and saw that we did be in the path of a mighty rock that was over nigh unto the edge of the shelf place, and did put fear upon me, in that it seemed that it should come down with great thundering upon us if that we but shook the place where it did be. And I caught the maid very swift and gentle, and shaped our path unto one side of that great rock, and did presently lose my fear when that we did come safe from under it. And in a minute after we were come upward upon the ledge, and a very safe place it did seem, and surely as that no monster should be able to come upward upon us. And this I did try to make for comfort unto ourselves, but that we both to know how that the great slugs could lie up against the sides of the gorge, and surely it did be like that they should be able to come upward clear of the gorge, and so to the place where we made to have safety. And I had no thought to deny this thing, when that it was clear to my brain, but set rather that we should have some way to fight the monster if that we did be discovered. And I thought in a moment upon the stones that did be about, and the maid in the same moment cried out that we should push the big rock down upon the slug that we believed to have chase of us, and indeed the rock to be a great weapon, if we could but stir it, as you shall think. And alway, as we talked very hushed, we looked downward into the deepness of the gorge unto the upward end of the firelight, but there came no thing yet unto our knowledge, only that the stinking did rise up to us through that great distance. And the fire-pit to seem now a very small burning, and to give no great light up to us, and we neither to be able to see very clear of the gorge bottom, in that the haze of the fumes and the smoke was in the air of the gorge, and made uncertainty, and we to be nowise proper free of the smoke even where we did be. And we watched, very set with anxiousness and fearful expecting of the monster, and did be both yet lost of breath, and the maid that she made her words something broken for a little while. And lo, in a moment, Nanny cried out very low and sharp, that the thing did come, and I to see a moving of somewhat, in the same instant, in the gorge that lay upon the upward side of the fire-pit. And immediately I saw the great and monster head of the beast come forward into the shine from the pit, and the head did be of a blotched white, and to have the eyes upon great stalks that came from the forward part of the head, and the stalks to be set downward, so that the eyes looked upon the bottom parts of the gorge. And surely this doth be very horrid seeming to the mind of this age, but yet to have a less strangeness unto the two of us that had seen many horrid sights, as you do know. And as the monster came forward the more into the light, I saw that the great and utter mighty bulk did be all of that same whiteness, that did be so set over with blotchings and a seeming of unhealth. But truly the colour was proper to a creature that did abide in so great a darkness, as you shall say, yet had those slugs that we did see been black and shining for the most as I have told. And this to be as I saw, and I not to heed here that I try into explainings in this place, else should I be never eased of my task, as you do see. And the monster slug came onward, and as it did go, it set the stalks of the eyes in among the boulders, as that it did search, swayed now this way and now that way, from side to side of the gorge, and alway it pushed the stalks of the eyes inward among the boulders, and so to go forward searching. And truly it was very dreadful to see the thing make search for us, and to go so steadfast to so dread a purpose. And indeed I saw it not so plain as might be, because of the haze of the fumes and the smoke that did lie in the air of the gorge, as I have told, and made something vague the sight at this time and that, but yet we did both see a strange thing. For when that the great white body did become half into the light, the slug-beast set out a big tongue among the boulders, After that it did peer thereunder, and the tongue did be very long and white, and something thin seeming, and the monster lapped inward in a moment a great snake from among the boulders, and the tongue did hold upon the snake as that there did be surely teeth or roughness upon the tongue, but yet the distance to be too great for any surety of the sight, as you do know, and moreover there did be the uncertainty of the haze within the air. And the slug took the snake inward, all as it did lash and wriggle, and swallowed it in a moment, and in verity that snake did be a big and horrid creature, else had it been not so plain to our sight, but it did be as a worm unto the monster, and gone instant. And immediately the slug-beast went again to searching, and the head to sway from this side unto that side of the gorge, and by the wideness and ease of this swaying shall you perceive the utter greatness of the beast. And alway, as it did come downward of the gorge, it thrust the stalks of the eyes inward among the boulders, looking all ways, and oft the breath did come from it as a cloud, and the stink to rise up unto us very plain and an abomination. And again we saw the beast set the tongue in among the boulders of the gorge bottom, and it licked forth a snake that did seem so thick as a man in the body, and the snake to thrash in the great white tongue, and to be immediately drawn inward and gone utter. And surely, as the thought did stir in me, there did be a great mercy over us, in that we did not die by such a serpent in some dark and horrid place of the gorge. But yet, as it is like to be, mayhap the snakes did be only a nigh to the fire-holes, yet doth it be anywise a wondrous thing that we did come so free of them alway, and truly to learn was to be given a new terror. Now the monster was come fully into the shining of the fire-pit, and was upon this side, and the fire to make a shining against the side of the slug, so that odd whiles I did perceive very plain the huge wrinklings and muslings of the skin, as the beast made onward. And alway it did search, thrusting in the eye-stalks among the boulders. And sudden it made pause, and did begin that it brought all the mighty body together and humped itself, and brought the head part round unto the bottom of the cliff that made this side of the gorge. And it gathered itself, and afterward did lengthen upward against the cliff and begin to climb. And lo, I saw that the beast did scent of us, and made to come upward to destroy us. And as the mighty hill of the body did come into the length against the great cliff-side, the beast set the eye-stalks into this cave and that as it did go, and into all crannies, and so lengthened upward very straight and monstrous and dreadful unto us, and did be as a white and mildewed hill that had an horrid life. And the stink to come up, so that we did be like to lose our breath with the dreadfulness of it, as you shall think. And surely for a moment I looked unto the rocks upon the ledge, and this way and that way, and upward unto the everlasting darkness that did be above us, and again unto the great rock that did seem to quiver upon the edge as I have told. And I was grown utter desperate in a moment, for truly it did seem in that instant that there did be no power in the world that should slay so utter mighty a monster. And immediately, even as I did despair, I had run very swift unto the great rock and the maid with me, both very strained and shaken with the horror of the thing that did make upward unto us so sure and intent. And I set my strength unto the rock and heaved. But indeed the rock gave not from the place where it did be, so that I had a dreadful despair, for I saw that it did be more secure than had seemed. And the maid lent her strength unto mine, and we heaved together, with sore pantings and little cries to guide our endeavours, and because we could not be contained in that moment. And surely it seemed that the great rock moved, and lo, as we strove together to the task, there came a vast and sudden grinding, and the rock to cease from our shoulders, and to be gone from us, or scarce we did wot of the happening. And the rock went over, and rushed downward upon the monster, and with mighty crashings, as it did grind and crush the face of the cliff-side with a quick and constant thundering. And I caught the maid, as she did stagger upon that dire upward edge, because that she had set her strength so utter to the endeavour, and the rock to be gone so sudden as you do see, and she to be like to follow after. And she clung unto me, and I to hold her very safe, as I looked down upon the falling of the rock. And behold, the great rock smote the monster in the humped part of the back, below of the head, and did enter into the monster, even as a bullet doth strike, and was gone instant from my sight into the vitals. And there came a mighty sound of anguish from the monster, and the monster did loosen from the cliff, and to crumple as it did seem, and sink backward, and a great steam of dread breathing to go upward from the beast, and a reek, and it made again the strange and horrid noise of pain, and the gorge to be yet full of the echoes of the rock thundering, and with the noise of the rock there was now mingled the horrid sounding of the death-crying of the beast, and the gorge to be filled with dull and dreadful echoings, as that 100 monsters died in this place and that of the darkness in the gorge, and all to be bred of the noise of that mildewed hill a-dying. And the echoes ceased not for a while, even after that the monster did be utter quiet, for truly they came presently from far upward and downward of the gorge, out of all the eternity of the night, and to be as that they came backward very faint out of lonesome miles, and out of the strange deepness of unknown caverns of the world. And so in the end to silence, and the far bottom of the gorge to be filled with a white and horrid hill, very dreadful, and that did yet quiver to show the slowness of death, and alway a dreadful reek and stinking to fill all the air, even unto the height as of the grave. End of chapter 12, part 2. Chapter 12, Part 3 of The Nightland by William Hope Hodgson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Nightland. Chapter 12. Downward of the Gorge, Part 3. And I stood upward in that far high place, and held the maid very strong and tender, and she to have covered her ears from that dreadful crying, and to be yet shaken with the greatness and horror of the dying of the monster, and the nearness that she did come unto falling, as you have seen. And presently she came to less trouble, and did weep very easeful, even as a babe doth weep. And I, mayhap, to be not over steady, as you shall think, but yet to have a great gladness set in my heart, and a triumph and an utter grace of thankfulness. And I held mine own very tender and sure, as I did say, and she very soon to be eased of her trouble, and the shock to be something gone from her. And she looked up at me, and slipped her arms upward about my neck, and pulled me downward unto her, that she might kiss me. And we to talk then of the going down, and surely this did seem a great and dangerous task, for truly we had come upward pretty easy in the excess of our fear, but how we might go down with our blood cool, I did be all in doubt. Yet before that we did aught else, I led the maid upward onto the safe part of the ledge, and we sat there very quiet and weary, and she did be leaned against me. And we each of us 2 of the tablets, and I to scold and coax mine own to this end, and she to obey and to be better afterward, because that she had eat. And we drank some of the water, and did rest a time longer. And presently our courage and strength was come back into us, and we packed the scrip again, and the maid set it fast to my back. And we went then to the edge of the shelf, and looked downward, this way and that, and surely there did be no way to go, save the way we came, only that we might shape our downward climbing to bring us a little below that place where the dead monster did be. And I saw by mine own heart, and by the paleness of the maid, that we should do well that we considered the thing no more, but make to the task. And I went immediately over the edge of the shelf upon my belly, and I bade Nanni to follow. and we began then that we go downward, and in verity we went downward for mayhap a great hour, and I gave help alway unto mine own as I could, and she to come after me very brave, and made that she hold back her fear and come downward of that cliff that be oft like to a mighty wall. And surely even as we came down, I marvelled how we did ever go upward, even though fear did aid us. But indeed I do think it doth be easier to climb safely than to come backward, for this is how I have found. And we made rest thrice upon the ledges of the cliff, and afterward came downward again, and alway very slow and with exceeding heed where our hands and feet did go, that we slip not suddenly to our death. And once, as I did see, the maid was lost of all her strength, and did be going to fall, because that she did be all gone into a sudden weakness of the head in an instant. And she did be silent even in that moment, the which doth be marvellous unto me, and to give me a strong pride of her, as you shall understand, if that ever you have loved. And surely I came upward in a moment, that little space that was between, and had mine arm about mine own very swift, and held her hard and fierce against the cliff. And this I did that she should feel how that she could never fall, and immediately her strength and her dear courage came back into her, and I kissed her there against the mighty cliff, and afterward she did have power again to come downward safe. And presently we were come to the gorge bottom, and maybe 100 paces down the gorge from that place where did be the dead monster, all sunk into an ugly and horrid heap, so great as a small hill. And a dreadful stinking did hang in all that part of the gorge, by reason of the slug, and signs of disgust as you shall think, and the great and mildewed body of the thing yet to settle and twitch as I did look, as it did come properly unto death in all that mighty bulk. And everywhere the skin of the beast did be set into great wrinklings, and horrid blotchings to be upon the improper whiteness thereof. And truly I did be in haste that I turned the maid away from that thing, and that we haste downward of the gorge. And we went then for 2 good hours, and alway I did hearten the maid, and she to go very hushed and trustful by me. But truly I did be in an anguish of heart, because that I was newly aware that there did be such great and dreadful serpents in that part of the gorge, as you do also know. And I was not over feared for myself, but for the maid that did have no armour to protect her dear body. And because that I was so set with this trouble, I took the maid presently into mine arms, that I carry her, and so to have her clear of aught that should lie among the boulders. And in verity mine own did show an anger very surprising and determined, for I said not why I should carry her, fearing to give her a greater unease, but only that she did be weary, and I very strong and willing. And indeed I could not bring her to reason without I told her, which was not mine intent, for she did refuse me to carry her, and said that truly I had need of no added burden unto my labours. And when she saw that I would not be moved by her reasonings, she made to win upon me by her loving ways. But indeed I only kissed her, and went forward with her in mine arms, and she half naughty that I did be so heedless of her wishings, and somewise hurt also, and so to be silent in mine arms, yet mayhap to be something stirred in her nature, that I did be so steadfast to mine intention, despite that her will did be contrary. And this I do believe to be truth, because that afterward I do think that she lay there in mine arms only as a woman that doth be in the hands of her master that hath all her love. And in this wise we went forward. And in the end of the 2 hours that we did go, there was come the end of the dark part of the gorge, and we to be outward of that mighty roof of the mountains, as I do think it to have been, and the air to be free of the stink of the monsters, and the fire-holes to be very plenty, and their smokings to go upward very proper, so that we had no more the bitterness of their fumings in our throats. And there did be a pretty good light to go by the contrast of the past hours. And I set mine own again to her feet, and made that you keep to my rearward, so that if there did be any serpents to our path, they should come first under my feet, and this wise to work no harm to me because of mine armour, neither to Nanni mine own maid. Now by this time it was somewhat of 19 great hours since we did sleep, for we had been a long while making that we come safe from the slug, and indeed we had come downward with a less speed than I did go through upon mine upward way, as you shall mind. And this to be that mine own did not have the hard strength that was in my body to the enduring of great labour and stress, and this surely all to be plain unto you that have been with me in all my journey. And moreover there must be kept to mind the 3 hours that we had gone ere we were come proper into the dark part of the gorge, and so all to be remembered unto you, and also you to mind that we did be wakeful a time ere that we set forward upon that day's journeying. And we did go almost in joyous wise, because that we were come safe out of that dreadful place, and surely odd whiles I did feel the hands of mine own naughty one to be hooked very pretty and sly into the backward part of my belt, as that she did make a pretending that she'd drive me before her, and surely this doth be a strange things to tell upon, for there did be no knowledge of the olden horse in all the eternity of that dark world, but yet maybe some dear olden memory dream did set her hands unconscious to this pretty work. And in verity once I turned very sudden and had her swift into mine arms, as she did pretend to drive me, and she to laugh with a sweet and joyous gurgle against mine armour, and I to heed that I hurt her not, because I did be like an iron man that should put arms about a tender maid. And we looked alway now for a place that should be proper to our rest and to our sleep. And when it did be close upon the end of the 20th hour of that journey, the maid showed me a cave that was, mayhap, 50 good feet upward in the right side of the gorge. And I looked about and saw that there did be 2 fire holes anigh, and a warm spring to make a basin of water that did lie between the fires, and all very well set to our need, as I did perceive, for indeed we did be utter besmirched with the filth of the slug part of the gorge, and to need that we be nice and fitly washed before that we have any comfort of ourselves. And I bade Nanni to wait a little minute, and I looked well up the gorge and well down the gorge, and lo, there did be no thing to set me in unease, and I told mine own that she keep a sharp and steadfast watching and not to heed me, and this I said because I knew she did be like otherwise to look at me and be over anxious, as I go upward to the cave, and indeed she to be better anyway in watch of the gorge, and to cry out to me if that anything come anigh whilst that I went upward. And I made upward to the cave, and was come there pretty quick, and truly it did be good for our purpose, and fresh seeming, and dry, and to have no holes that I could see for the hiding of creeping things. And I called down gently to the maid that the cave be proper, and she to show her gladness, and to be looking upward at me, instead of the way of the gorge as I set her. And truly she did be a dear and human little maid, and utter mine, so that I did find a new joy in each small lack of wisdom, and this just so much as that she had done a wondrous proper thing. And truly you shall say there was some properness to her heart, in that she could abide not but to watch me. And I went quickly down to mine own, for there was alway an unease upon me, save when I did be nigh to her in chance of trouble. And when I was come down to her, the maid did be seeming a little in thought, and afterward showed me how that she did be all in a pitiful disgust of the dirt and slime and the drippings of the gorge that did be on her, and had made her garment utter wet and bemired, so that she did feel that her very body was a repulse unto her. And I saw how it did be with Nanni, and I went to the warm pool, and felt that it be not over hot, and afterward found the deepness, by the handle of the discos, and this to be scarce of 3 feet, and the water very clear to show me the bottom, so that it was surely a nice and proper place to be for such a purpose as I did think. and I set some of the water to my mouth, using my hand, and truly there did seem no hurtful chemical in the water, and therefore was I eased that the maid should have the desire that I did see to be in her mind. And I saw that I should be helpful to mine own, if that I make the arranging of things to be in mine own hands. And I went back unto the maid, and told her that the pool was very nice to be for a bath place, and that she to haste to wash herself, whilst the gorge did be free of any creature or monster. Now I saw that Nanni was troubled, and feared that I did be going to leave her, and yet did be paused a little in her words, to show me all that she did wish. And surely I stooped and kissed her, as she did look so wistful in her little puzzlement. And immediately I removed her trouble very natural, and told that I should stand guard anigh to her the while that she bathed. And truly she did be at ease on the moment, and mayhap something surprised to know wherefore she had been something alack to ask me. But in truth it did be very natural. And I told her to be so quick as she might, which was a needless thing to say, yet to start her, and she to go quietly to obey me, but first to take the cloak out of the hold upon my shoulders, and to unfold it, and so to the pool. And I to stand with my back thatwards, and to lean ready upon the discos. And presently she did be in the water as I knew, and I to be her man, very sure and gentle to her and sedate. And truly, as you shall think, I did love that I to be stand guard to her in her dear maidenhood, and she, after that she was cheered and warmed by the delight of the water, to sing very low and happy to herself where she did be to my back. And sudden the singing to cease, and the maid screamed, and I to have no thought of improper modesty, but turned instant to the maid. And in a moment I saw what did trouble her, for there came a serpent out of the water, and the maid to be all adrift with natural modesty, and with her fear of the serpent. And I was come into the pool in a moment, in mine armour, and did lift the maid, naked and wet, into mine arms, and had her instant from the water, and upon the side of the pool. And there I wrapped the cloak about her, and ran very quick, and killed the serpent, as it did go offwards among the boulders. And surely it did be so thick as mine arm, and to have come from some hole that did be hid in the bottom of the pool. And I came back then to mine own, and took her into mine arms, and set the cloak well about her, and she to cry and to tremble with the shock and disturbance of the thing, but soon to be eased, and ready to laugh with me. And so she was come proper to her happiness again, and I very gentle and joyous with her, for truly my heart had been sick that she had come so nigh to that horrid danger. And I eased the scrip from me, and opened it, and made her to take 2 of the tablets, and she to refuse to eat, save I company her also. And indeed I did be very willing, for truly my belly was alway empty. And she to be very glad to eat, because she did be clean now, and to have no more disgust of herself. And afterward we drank some of the water, and soon we did be finished, and she to ask for her girdle that I did give her with the knife, as I have surely told. And she belted the cloak very graceful about her, and looked very dear and pretty with her little bare feet, and her hair very lovely upon her shoulders, for she did wear alway in the gorge the lining of my headpiece, and so had her hair dry and sweet. And in verity I did mind now how that she did look very beautiful in her bath, as I had gone to succour her from the snake, and I to be nicely wholesome in this remembering, because of my love, but yet to be knowing that I was sweetly stirred to new things, and did not know before that a maid looked in the same moment so holy and so human. And afterward in odd whiles I remembered, but never to think over much, because that I did feel inwardly that I should be gently wise in such things, and you to understand my heart in this, if that ever you have loved. And surely the maid brought me from my dreamings very sensible, in that she had me to stand, and she was gone about me very swift and natty with her pretty fingers, that she eased me of mine armour. And afterward she bade me to strip and wash, whilst that she keep watch for me of the gorge. and she took the discos and leaned upon it, very brave and proper, but yet, as I do think, with somewhat of roguishness within her, very deep hid and scarce known unto herself. And I warned her to be very wise with the great weapon, for it did fit only to fight in my hands, and did be like to cause harm to any that should meddle with it or make to use it save me. And Nanni to nod that she did hear me, and to be half in fear of the thing, and half to feel that it did be friendly to her, and so to stand guard for me, and truly to seem a very sweet and slender maid, despite the bigness of the cloak, and the great weapon to seem more great in her small hands, and to mind me how strong I did be. And surely you shall think me in conceit, but truly I did be glad to be so strong, and a proper thing for pride, if that there be no scorn for others therein. And you to agree with me in this thing, or to be lacking of sympathy and good human understanding. Now I washed me, not by going down into the pool, for indeed I did not wot whether there be any more snakes hid there in some other hole. And the way I washed was that I dipped my headpiece into the hot pool and poured the water over me, and rubbed my body very strong with my hands, and there to be surely some certain chemical in the water that aided mine efforts, for the water went very smooth under my hands. And when I was done I washed my pocket-cloth very speedy in the pool and wrung it, and did then wipe my body so dry as I should, and afterward I wrung the cloth again and set it about my loins, and so to be as proper as I might. And I did call to the maid that I was proper, and she to come then and kiss me, and she gave back to me the discos, and set me that I stand anigh to the nearer fire-hole, and so to be that I should guard her, and in the same time become free of the chill of the gorge, which was not great in that place. And surely I did mean that I help her, but she would have no help in her work, that she did say to be her glad right, but bade me that I to mine own work to be her dear protector, as she did call me, and I to lift that wilful one into mine arms a moment, and to give her a very loving hug, and for that time to have no fear that I harm her, because that I was freed of the hardness of the armour about me, as you do know. And surely she to feel very dear and pretty in mine arms, and she kissed me the once with a little passion of love, and immediately to want to go from me, so that I freed her in a moment, as was ever my way. And she then to pause a small space off from me, and looked at me with a light in her eyes, and half to put out her arms that she be taken again into mine, but so to cease ere she yield to her heart, and turn from me immediately to the task of the washing. And she took first my body vest, and washed it very quick and clever in the pool, and afterward came over by me, and spread it upon the hot flat rock anigh to the fire-hole. And she got then my change body vest from the bundle of her torn garments, where she did put it to be washed on opportunity, even as now, and mayhap to like that it should lie in her bundle with her own garments, for so as I do mine, the thought came to me very natural, but she to say naught to lead me thus, yet to be a very honest and dear maid, and to have little secret ways of love, as I did perceive, that I did not be told of. And she washed the second body vest, and set it to dry by the first, and afterward did likewise with all my garments, and came then to the washing of her own. And lo, as she spread it also to the drying, there came to mine heart that the maid did have only this one rough and thick garment, that did be the armour-suit as I have told. And surely it did be dreadful that she have the hardness of that strong knitted and fibrous garment to be next to her dear body, and I to be in comfort with the softness of my body vest. And I was all angered in a moment that she had gone this wise, while that I had been gentled, as it might be. And I bade Nanni take the second vest to her own use when it did be dry, and she to look upward from where she did turn the garments upon the hot rock, and to mean in the first to deny me. But indeed she was quick to see that I did be truly in anger, and mine anger to come because that I was hurt that this did be, and because that I was shamed that she had gone so rough clad, the while that I had no thought to the matter, and moreover because that she had known her lack and did not tell me of the thing. But yet I did have a great tenderness in the backward part of mine anger, because that I perceived all the unselfishness and delight of her love that did be about this little matter, as you shall see, if you have gone alway with me. But mine anger yet to be something hard, because I did see that I have need to watch the maid, that she put not her dear body to pain, that I might come unknowing to some little pleasuring or ease, as did be now as I have shown. And truly it did be sweetly done in love, but be somewise lacking of judgment. And so shall you know somewhat of the way that I did be angered, and to have understanding with me. But if you have not, you shall think it to be naught, and that the maid did need only that she be kissed, and to be shaken a little in playfulness, and warned to heed that I did be earnest. And mayhap you to be somewise right, and not to guess far off from the inward deepness of my heart. But yet it doth be verity that I was truly angered, and fit to shake mine own, and in the same moment to be utter tender unto her. And surely this doth be all a contradiction, and the human heart to be a wayward thing, whether it doth be of a man or of a woman. And Nanni, as I do think, to have loved the chafe of that rough garment for love's sake, and to go very humble and loving as I looked at her, but in verity to be never gone from the sweet naughtiness that did be alway in her heart, and to plan even in that moment some new and secret service unto me, that should be for her quiet joy, and to be hid from me, until that my wit should come upon it to uncover it. And in verity a young man doth want that he whip his maid and kiss her, and all in the one moment, and indeed he to have delight in both. And she obeyed me that time, as alway when I did be earnest, without more word. And surely that naughty one did know how I loved her. And the maid washed then her torn garments that did be in the bundle, and had gotten soiled by the slime of the dark part of the gorge. And she put these to dry, and afterward washed mine armour and the scrip and the pouch and the cloak-hold, and all such matters of our gear, and so to be presently done. And she was heedful then that she turned the garments upon the hot rock, and afterward did attend to my bruisings. And when she did rest, I looked to her pretty feet, and rubbed them very gentle and constant with the ointment, and surely they did be pretty well, but I to like that I should tend them, and to have joy to feel their littleness within my palms, and surely she did know how it did be with me, for presently she took her feet inward under the cloak, and I, maybe, to look something woeful, for she put one out presently when that I did the least expect, and slipped it very cosy into my hand, and surely I kissed her naughty toes, and she then to be very sedate. Now presently, when Nanni found the garments to be proper dry, she gave those to me that were mine, and bid me to turn my back and be dressed very speedy. And lo, in a little time, when I was nigh done, she came over and stood before me, and was dressed again in the armour-suit, and to look very slender and dainty. And she looked at me, so that I put out my hands that I kiss her, but she went from me very proper, and brought mine armour, and gave me help with it, and alway very grave and quiet, but yet to have naughtiness underneath, as I did believe. And when I was full armed, she took my hand and set mine arm about her waist, and she leaned her head against my breast, and put up her lips to be kissed, as that she did be a child maiden. Yet when I kissed her, she did be a woman, and to kiss me very dear and loving, and to look at me then from under her eyelids, and sudden to make a dainty growling, and to pretend that she did be a fierce thing that should be like to eat me. And I to be utter feared, as you shall think, and to be scarce able that I kiss mine own pretty fierce one, because that I did laugh so hearty, and to be so taken with a surprise that the maid did show this new playfulness. And in the same moment to be stirred and waked anew that she did be so lovely and graceful in mine arms, and to make her naughty growling so pretty that I did be eager that she make it again, but she to do this playing only as her mood did stir her. And she made then that she would go from me, and I to loose her as ever, and she bade me that I guard her the while that she washed the outward part of the cloak, for the inward did be clean, and the cloak proof to water, but the outward part to be something needful of washing. And surely when this was made clean it dried very quick, because that the water went not into it, and whilst that it dried, I gave mine own an aid upward unto the cave, and afterward I passed up the gear and the cloak when it did be dry, and so came upward also myself, and brought with me a boulder that I balanced very light in the mouth of the cave, so that it should fall if that anything touched it. And this plan you do know of, for I used it before, as I have told. And truly we did be utter wearied, and the time to be something beyond 23 hours since last we had slumber. And the maid had the scrip and the pouch set to be for my pillow, and the bundle of her torn garment to be for her own, and she to have me to my pillow, and to tuck the cloak about me, and the discos to my hand, and afterward to kiss me very sedate upon the lips, and then to come in under the cloak with a quiet and lovely happiness as I did know, and to be gone to slumber very content and sweet. And I waked 8 good hours after with the fizzing of the water in mine ears, and lo, mine own did be waked and to make ready our breakfast. And I came upward upon mine elbow to see whether that the boulder did be unmoved, and indeed it was not touched. And mine own saw that I was come awake, and she ran to me, very dear and glad, and kissed my lips very eager and loving. And surely, as she kissed me, I did feel that she had taken again a naughty advantaging of my slumber, and had kissed me as I did sleep. But truly I said no word of my thoughts, for I did mind that I should wake sudden one time, and so to catch her in this, and to call her then mine own, and that she did be a rogue, and all as you shall know that have loved. And I scolded the maid a little in that she had not waked me, but I said not that I would attend to the duties that she did heed to, for I knew that she had joy of these things, in that she did love to do aught that should be done unto me. And when I scolded her, she to make but a little mouth at me, as we do say, and to put her tablet to my lips that I kissed them, and she to kiss mine, and so to our breakfast. And when we were done, we gat together our gear, and went downward from the cave, and began again to journey. And we went 18 hours that day, and eat and drunk at every 6th hour as ever. And in the 14th hour I perceived that I did be like to overtravel the maid, though I made alway to have a less speed than did be natural unto me. And surely then I took her up into mine arms, and she to refuse, and to be troubled that I should so carry her, for she did think that I was like to be wearied by the task. And I to take no heed to her pretestings, but to laugh gently with her, and to carry her, even as a babe in mine arms, and she to love that she be in mine arms, if but she be able to have assuredness that I come not to weariness through her. And truly it did be a dear love task, and to be set unto the needing of mine especial heart. And I carried mine own then for 4 hours, and in the 18th hour we were come to that part of the gorge where did be the ledge where I killed the spider, ere I slept, as you shall mayhap to mind. And here I aided the maid to climb, and we had the same ledge that night to be our refuge, and did sleep very happy and unharmed, and alway with our spirits set to warn us, if that harm did make to come nigh to us. And we went then through 3 days of 18 hours' journey each, and alway I did carry mine own from the 12th unto the 18th hour of each journeying. And this to be very dear unto me, and to give me a new rejoicing that I did be strong and easy to carry mine own, and she to lie in mine arms very content, when that she perceived how that I did be so glad to go this wise, and that I had no weariness by the carrying. And thus I did rest her feet, and wore not her dear and slender body overmuch with the vigour of my going, and was able to make a very good speed. And mine own, this time and that, to make sayings of impudence unto me, and to hide her naughty lips, when that I should kiss them, and to have quaint nestlings unto me, and odd whiles to kiss me very dainty, when that I did be going thoughtful of the way. And surely never did there be so dear a maid as mine own, so that I did go many a mile, and to be scarce that I knew that I was gone any way, because of the stirrings of my heart and the content of my spirit. And oft as we did go, there were great scorpions in the path, and odd whiles they to have no heed to go from my way, but to be so great as my head, and very fat and lazy, so that surely I kicked a good number from my path, even as you shall kick a ball with the foot. And 3, I burst in this way. And truly it did be well that I had on me mine armour, else had they been like to sting me very quick unto death, for they were so great. And likewise in this place and that there were snakes, but none to come anigh to me, and I to choose alway the open goings, for I did think there to be many hid snakes and lesser monsters in the dark places between the great boulders. And alway when the maid did walk, I to go before, that I see clear her way, and this thing to be but a matter of wiseness, as you shall think. And odd whiles, as I did carry mine own, she to talk a little with me of her memory dreams of the olden days, and mayhap you to think it strange that we said not overmuch on this wise, but the way of our journey to have been so utter bitter as you have seen, and we to be more of that far age than we did be of this present age, and this present life to seem but a dream of memory, and we to be set then with the realness of that life, and this telling indeed to be a plain thing to your understanding. Yet did we have a greater talk to these ends when that we were come free of the gorge, but yet oft there to be an odd saying and a sweet memory, like to an olden and forgot fragrance of dreams, to pass between mine own and me. And do you to set your sympathy of understanding with me in this thing, and to know how holy these things did be, and far off, and to hold memory, as a mist that doth shine with golden lights, that did make an holy pain upon the eyes of the spirit, even as a quiet dawn of this day doth set a pleasure of vague pain upon the heart. And once as I did carry the maid, I saw that she wept a little, very hushed unto herself, and I to say naught, for I saw that it did be a natural sorrow for her father, and for the dead peoples of the lesser redoubt, that did be left for ever unto the desolation of eternity. And so, because I did be wise to leave her be, she to be eased presently, and to wipe her eyes, quiet and secret, and mayhap to think that I did not perceive, and then to nestle unto me, and so to be the more mine own. And about the middle part of the second day we came past the cave where I did sleep on the upward journey, and I to tell Nanni, and she to look upward to the cave, and to wish that she might come a moment into it, only that it did be 20 good feet upward, and I to desire that she run no risk of her dear life when that there did be no need. And so to go onward, and odd whiles to see strange things a-lurk among the boulders, but none to come anigh to us. Yet did I keep the discos very handy in my hand, as you shall think, and had mine eyes alway to look upon every side, and mine ears to be wary, and to use my spirit alway to mine aid. And surely, as we did come lower in the gorge, the maid was all a-wondered at the warmness that did grow, and something disturbed in the first by the new thickness, as it did seem, of the air, and she to waste some of the water, because that it did fizz up so quick even as I, until that she was come used to this newness, and all this to be very plain unto you. And in the end of every journey we slept 8 good hours in a safe place, and so to go onward again, and the maid to grow very eager as I did tell her this thing and that of the country that we did come downward unto. And she asked me questions time and oft, and much I told her, and she to think upon it with a growing wonder and desire, even as a gladsome child that hath never seen the sea, and doth be told that it shall presently be there. And this to be but to shadow the way that Nanni did be, for truly she did be a very live and eager maid in all things. And we to be still within the gorge, and to go constant by the fire-holes and the fire-pits, and to see the flames leap upward in this place and that, so that the mighty walls of the gorge would show very plain in an instant, and immediately to come the shadows again, and afterward the leaping of the flames. And so did it be for ever. And oft the muttering of the fire-pits, and oft the utter quiet and the shadows. And this time and that there did be a snake to go by us, and the scuttling of the monster scorpions, and mayhap a moving in the shadows of the great boulders, that did tell me there went maybe some peculiar monster in that place, so that I did be very wary and to have the discos alway ready. And when the 4th day was come, I showed the maid in the 6th hour the ledge that did be my first sleeping place, when that I was entered into the gorge. Now presently, in the 11th hour, after that we had gone 5 hours in a gloom, there did show afar off a shining, and I caught the maid, and I pointed, and she also to perceive that it did be surely the shining of the light of that great country that I did tell upon. And immediately we did begin to run downward, and with sore stumblings in this place and that, but not to halt us, for we did be so mad as two children for the gladsome light. And we came down presently in the 12th hour of that journey into the warm light and wonder of the country of the seas. End of chapter 12, part 3. Chapter 13, Part 1 of The Nightland by William Hope Hodgson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Nightland. Chapter 13. Homeward by the Shore. Part 1. Now we came presently out of that sad and dreary place, and did go inward of the great mountains, and which I have named the Upward Gorge. And we do halt soon between the feet of the mountains beyond the mouth part of the gorge. And Nannie alway to look every way about her, and to breathe very quick, and her eyes to be gone bright with wonder and the seeing of new things, and the coming of freedom from so great a dread. And she turned now and did look upward into the dark of the gorge, and to spy upon the great mouth thereof, and to be feared then, and must run a greater way downward into the lightness of the country of the seas, and to come once more to pause, and to look backward, and with an awe and a relieved soul, and so again to the wonder of the spreaded country and the great sea, and did near to laugh and cry in the same moment, with the amazement and gladness and great astonishment that did be upon her. And she to turn constant this way and that, and to be never ceased of looking, and of deep breathings of the wide air, for never in that life had she been in a broad place of light, as you shall have perceived. And we to feel both that there did be no more need to talk hushed, as we did alway in the gloom and narrow dark of the gorge. And surely she to shout, as a child that doth try an echo, and her voice to go very pretty into the distance, and to be lost afar off in that country. And lo, in a moment, an echo to come out of the dark mountains to our backs, so that we looked round very sudden. But whether the echo did be truly an echo, or some strangeness, or some unnatural call to come downward out of the gloom and horror of the gorge, we did be all unsure, and indeed must run downward a while more, until that we did be all breathed, and to halt presently where we did feel to be utter free of the gorge, and of the strangeness that did seem to our minds in that moment to lie upward in the darkness of the great mountains. And surely we did look about for a flat rock to be for our use, and we came presently to a place nice to our purpose, that did be yet upward over the land, and we climbed up onto the rock, and sat thereon to have our food and drink. And as we eat and drank, we did sit very close and happy, but yet to have a wise looking about anigh to us, so that we be caught by no danger of the humped men, or by any other danger that might be. And alway the maid did question, and did stare afar over the country, and to have a shining wonder and joy of the sea, and to be stirred in all her being, so that she was pained with vague and sudden memories, that did be as strange dreams, and all mixed with pleasure and pain. And indeed she sudden to weeping, and to need that she be in mine arms, until that she know herself once again, and so to her dear natural joy and way. And oft did mine own speak upon the clear wonder of the air, as it did seem to her, and to me it did seem likewise, that had lived my life also in a dark land, as you do know. And she to break sudden from her rapture, and to set back her speech and eternity with vague words, and memories so olden and englamoured, that they did be as moonlight that once hath shone. And in a moment she to be forward again into that far future time and speech, and all her being to be close unto me, and oft in a solemn silence of the heart. And the greatness of the sea to call unto her with an olden voice, and to half waken her, and I with her to be thus half wakened, yet had I been not thus as I did come mine outward way, but truly I did stir to the stirring of the maid, and all mine olden thoughts that did be my memory dreams to come fresh upon my spirit. And so we two to sit there all shaken with dreamings that did concern happenings of the olden world, that did lie upward in that dreadful night which made a mighty and deeply roof over that country. And surely I am dumb, in that I have no speech to make known to you all the troublings and stirrings of our spirits that we did know in that moment. And far off, by miles, beyond the feet of the mountain, where went the shore of the sea upon our left, there was a great mist and steam, and this to be that mist and steam that I did come through on mine outward way. And Nanni to ask concerning it, and I to tell her so much as I knew, and how that we must indeed come presently through it upon our journey. And she to be in wonder of the volcanoes that did burn in the sea, and in this place and that of the wide country, and the height and gradness to exalt her, and in the same time to give her a strange humbleness of her mind, so that presently I did take her into mine arms, for I must kiss her, and because that she did be so utter a sweet maiden, and lovely with interest and naturalness. And truly she to kiss me in turn, and to make her questionings between her kissings, and this to be because she did yearn for a greater knowing of the country, but also, as I do have to think, because she did be sweetly impudent unto me, and this to be of her joy. And presently she to kiss me thrice very passionate and warm upon the mouth, and immediately to take my shoulders with her small hands that did seem so pretty upon my broadness and upon the metal of the armour. And she to strive thus that she shake me to a speedier answer, and she all the while to be full of a dear naughtiness, and to need that she be kissed very hard. And I to answer her, but after mine own fashion, which did be a word between each kiss that I gave to her, and she very quick and naughty to put her hand between our lips, and I then to kiss the palm that did be in my way, and did be very small and pretty, and she, when I had no thought, to open her fingers very quick, and kiss me through between the fingers, and immediately to shut the fingers, that I did be stopped from the same. And afterward I made her stand upon the rock, and I set free her hair over her shoulders, and I took then the boots from her, so that her little feet did show bare and pretty. And she at the first half to refuse me, but afterward to stand very dear and obedient that I should have my way with her, and to be a little shy, and the more pretty because of her sweet blushings. And surely when that I had her to my likings, I stepped back a little pace and looked at her, and she to look again at me, very quaint and naughty, and then to turn her about, very grave, and to make pretend that she did be a dummy figure. And surely when she did become right round and to face me again, and had a very sedate look, she stretched out her pretty foot all in a moment, and put her pink toes sudden upon my lips, and I to be so in surprise that I had not wit to do aught ere she had them back swift from me, and she then to make one glad spring into mine arms, and to want that she be hugged, and to be loved very great. And I to laugh all tender, for I loved her so utter, as you do know. And I to tell her, as you sure likewise to have told your maid, that I wanted a pocket sufficient, that I might have her therein alway anigh to my heart. And this thing I to say to her, as a man that doth love shall say it, and you to know the way of it so well as I, and she to laugh very mischievous, and to tell me that she should truly tickle me, if that I carried her that wise, ay, and to pinch me too, and I to have no answer, save that I shake her very gentle, but indeed she to kiss me very naughty on the mouth in the midst of my shaking, and truly what shall a man do with such an one? And she then to want to be more sedate and to be set down upon the rock, and she to make me turn round so that she should come at the pouch which did be upon my back. And she gat thence the comb that was a fitment, and did comb her pretty hair, and I to sit and talk with her, and to jest, with a heart that did be so light as it had not been for a great while. For though I did dread the humped men and the monstrous animals of the country of seas, I had not any abiding horror of aught that I had seen in that country, for there seemed a naturalness in all things, so that I did have no loathing, neither any fear of an evil force. And presently, when that the maid had combed her hair, she to bind it upon her head, but I to ask that she leave it upon her shoulders, because that it did be so pretty, and she to smile at me, and to be happy to my pleasuring. Now we did be truly sedate, and to set our gear together, and I to put the boots upon the maid, and afterward we to begin again to journey downward into the country of the seas. And we went at a good pace, but not to bring us to any great weariness, for it was mine intent that we rest for our slumber upon this side of the place where did be the steam of the boilings, that was anigh to the shore of the sea, as you shall mind. And we at this time to be passing along the feet of the mountains unto the place of the steam, and to go this wise for 6 good hours, and still to be a great hour off that part, for we went not so fierce as did be the speed of mine outward way, which was utter strong, as you do mind, that have gone with me in all my journey. And so when we had walked 6 hours, we did be gone something beyond the 18th hour of that day's journeying, and to be very ready to our slumber. Now presently we found a tall rock, very hard to climb, that had a flat top so great as may be twice my length everyways, and this to be very good to our purpose. And when we were come safe to the top, we to eat and drink, and presently to sleep, and to have the cloak under us, as did be the will of the maid, for the country did be utter warm and nice, so that we had no occasion for covering. And surely we waked both of us when that we had slept 7 good hours, and we sat upward and looked newly each at the other, and to be as that we did each see the other anew in that good light, and to have a fresh joy each in the look of the other. And she to come into mine arms, and to kiss and to need that she be kissed, and truly we both to have our need, but yet to be something the more hungry of the other for the having. And mine own then to make our breakfast, and the water to fizz very strong and surprising, and we to eat and drink, and to be utter happy each with the other, and to talk on this thing and that, and the maid to look about as we eat, and she to look afar off at the wonders and the newness of the country to her knowledge, but I to look near, lest there be any danger that might be anigh. And in a while mine own to draw my gaze to the mountains that the gorge came through, and in verity, now that I did look in ease, I to see with her how that they did be truly monstrous, even as a monstrous wall that did go upward for ever until that they were gone out of the light of that country into the dark night of the deathly upper world, that did be lost and eternity. And I to mind that I had some vague thoughts this wise on the outward way, but now I to have ease, and the maid to speak with, and so to perceive odd matters the more. And I to tell you this little thing, so that you shall perceive the way that restfulness did be upon me, by compare with the outward going. And truly we had no great speed with our talk and with our eating, but in the end did make somewhat to hurry, because that we did be conscious that we leaned to slackness. And indeed we came down then pretty speedy from the rock where we did sleep, and had forward to our way at a good pace. And when we had gone a while, we to begin to hear the far hissing of the steam and the noise of the upward burstings of waters that did boil, and the sound to be very strange, but I to have heard it before, as you do know, so that it to trouble me the less than the maid, and I to assure her, and she to come nigh to me, and this wise we to enter presently into the steam. And we went then for more than 3 hours, and I had the maid to my back that I should be the first, and this I did that she have no danger to walk into a boiling pool in the maziness of the steam, which was everywhere, and I to be something guided in my path by the shore of the sea, which did be unto our left alway, only that we could see neither the sea nor otherwise, except that we go so close that we near into the water. And truly the sea to seem to boil in parts, and there to be hot pools in all places, so that who should say with ease whether we did go by one of the great hot pools or by the true sea? And this our constant puzzle shall be likewise to you, and you to perceive how that we did go utter weary. And about us from every part there did come the strange burstings and shriekings and whistlings of the boil of the waters breaking upward from the deep world, and odd whiles the sounds as to be as of great monsters, and the earth to shake under us, and other whiles there to be a hush and only the steam about us, and somewhere in the distance and uncertainness a low piping of some steam cranny, very strange and lonesome sounding. And when it did be somewheres nigh upon the 4th hour, we came out of the thick steam, and the pipings and the roarings to be our rearward, and soon the steam to be gone thin as but a mist, and the noises to be very far seeming, and presently we to be come clear out into the air of that country. And the maid now to perceive the trees, which did be in great forests unto our right hand, while that the shore of the sea did go alway upon our left, and she to be utter in wonder of the trees, and to need that she pluck branches, and smell of them, and look at each leaf, and so to be all stirred, for never in that life did she to have seen such a matter as those great trees did be, but yet to be all stirred by vague memories that did seem no more than dreams. And you to think but a moment, and to perceive how the thing did be with her, and you to have been likewise stirred if that you did be so strangely waked in a corner part of the heart, though but a little matter to wake you. Now when the 6th hour did be full come, we made a halt in a wise place, and had there our tablets and the water. And afterward the maid bid me that I take her unto a warm pool that did be near by, and to ask that I turn from her, but yet be anigh for her protector, as I did be ever. And so she to wash and to make herself happy with a sweet cleanness that did be proper to her, and afterward when she did be done, she to act watch whilst I to mine, and to help me in all matters that she was able. And truly I to be happy indeed that she did so have delight to attend upon me and to treat me motherwise, yet truly with her maid heart not all hid, as you have perceived, this time and that. And surely thus did we go alway in these matters, and oft that I have not space to have told, and oft that you shall remember, if that I do be too full of other happenings to give heed to tell upon. And afterward we to our journeying again, and to talk upon this thing and that, and I to be watchful as we talked, and to tell the maid that she keep her eyes wary, but yet not to be of unease. And when we did go this wise for 7 good hours, we were come nigh opposed to the bright burning fire-hill that did be offward in the sea, and had made me a warm light in that time when I did sleep in the tree, as you do remember. And truly, as I shall here mind you, we did be past 7 hours coming to this place from the part where the steam did be, yet had I gone that space upon the outward way at a speed that was greater, but truly I might not set so great a pace to the maid, save mayhap odd whiles. And this thing I beg that you have alway in your mind, and so to understand why that we did be oft long upon this part of the journey and that, by compare with mine outward going. And in verity I had set off our hour for food, because that I saw we did come nigh to the place where the tree did be, and I to know that the maid should like to eat and drink anigh to that place, and to know that I did sleep there. And surely I took her to the tree, and when that I told her, she to beg that I indulge her, and that we go upward to that branch where I did sleep, and there to eat our tablets. And I to be willing, and to enter into her wishing, for indeed there was no danger in the climb, and I to go alway below her, so that I could be surety for her safeness. And we came up to the great branch, and she to make how we should sit, and I to have to show just where I did lie, and she to look very close, and to see that my weight had surely marked the hardness of the armour upon the bark. And she then to be upon that branch alone, as she did eat and drink, and to look outward at the light from the fire-hill, and to be very hushed, and to think, and I not to disturb her with speech. And when she did be done, she gat from the branch and kissed the place where I did lie. And lo, in a moment a thought came into her, and she drew her knife, and cut out a piece of the bark, and put it into her breast to be for a keepsake, and so to seem somewise contented. And truly I told her about the great beast, when we were come down again to the earth, and she to cry out to show me that there did be yet the mark where the belly of the monstrous beast did brush upon the earth as it ran, and moreover the broken places of the footmarks, and she by this to see how great a beast it did be, but yet did it be but a little thing beside the slug, only that it did be a thing of horn and hardness of skin, as you have perceived. And truly I do mind how that the observings of the maid did bring very keen to me how that there had passed but 17 days since that I did go onward from this place, and this to seem very strange and scarce credible unto me. For I had thought at it somewise as a great time, and truly this to be because it was so marked by stress of the mind and great happenings, and you to agree in this thing. But yet also we shall truly mind that those times that I have called days did hold oft the hours of 2 days, and mayhap 3, as you do remember. Now we went onward then to our journeying, and I to make to carry the maid as ever, after that she had walked 12 hours, though she did walk 13 hours this time as you have seen. And she to say that she go now upon her own feet through the next 6 hours, and so to ease me from the labour that did be needful to carry her. But I to know how that she did be like to be all gone of her strength this wise in but a day or two, and we to make the better speed if that I keep to my way, and to have her walk 12 hours of every journey, and afterward to come into mine arms. For truly she did be bred less hardy than I, as you shall think from all that I have told concerning the peoples of the Lesser Pyramid, and moreover she was yet something weakened, as I did think, by the dreadful month of her lonesomeness and escapings, before that I was come to succour her. And truly as I did carry her, the maid did make remark of her wonderment concerning me, in that I did be so hard of my body, and set in the determination of my mind. And in verity I did be exceeding strong and of great hardness of body. And mayhap my will did be somewhat this way also, else do I think I had never borne to come unto mine own through so much desolation. And I to smile very happy upon her, for I did love that I was so strong, and very truly in delight that mine own maid did take gladness in this thing. And you to mind how you did be also in the love days, and so to have nice understanding of my naturalness and human pride. And surely the maid did nestle unto me as she did talk, even somewise as a child shall come nigh to the mother, but yet also as a maid doth love to be nigh unto her man, if that she doth truly love. And I to lift her more nigh to my lips, but she to refuse to kiss me, and to be a sweet impertinence that did lie in mine arms. Yet when I did make to lower her again to the way that had her easy to carry, she to slip her pretty face very snug under my chin, and to kiss me there, after her own fashion, and afterward to be willing that she be as usual into mine arms. Now as I set the maid again comfortable, it seemed to me that she was something tender, and sudden it came to me that mayhap the armour to be very hard and painful unto her, and I to ask this thing of her in a moment, and she to see that I would not be put off, and so to tell me. And truly I was utter angered with myself, and somewise also with her, in that she did not waken mine unthinkingness to this thing. And I set her instant to the earth, and made her to bare her shoulders to me, and truly they did be much bruised where that she had lain so oft in mine arms against the hardness of mine armour. And I to be so angered that I near shook her, and she to see how I did be, and that she did be nigh to be shaken, because that I was grown so angry that she should let herself come to this foolish hurt, that yet I did know was very dear unto her secret heart. And in truth she put up her lips to me very sudden, and with a strange naughtiness, that she have her own way with me to tempt me from mine anger, that yet she did have to like. And in verity I near slapped her then upon her pretty shoulders, but that she ceased from her tempting of me, and instead she turned her shoulders to me, even as a child, that I button her garment for her. And surely when I had buttoned her garment, she came round unto me and closed her hand, so that it did be a little fist, even as I did love her to do, because that it was so small beside my great hand. And she slipped her shut hand into mine, and surely I let it stay within very quiet, and made not to close upon it as I did wont. And the maid did move her hand around in mine, that she made me to take notice upon her, and to grasp her little fist. Yet I did be very stern, for I was truly angered, and neither did I put her hand from mine, nor made to hold it, but only to let it bide. Yet truly I to be something stirred in the heart part by her pretty ways. And in a little while she took her hand from out of mine, and did have daring to be cold unto me, and mine anger then to be quaintly renewed, and to think that she did well need to be whipped. And she made a naughty and foolish impudence upon that which I said to her, so that presently I did say that she did need such as should make her to heed her manners. But yet, as you shall conceive, I to know inwardly all that time how that even this true naughtiness did not stir me to proper anger, but more that it made me masterful, and to lack not that I make her know truly that I did be her master, and in the same time to be strangely touched in a very deep and secret place of my heart. And truly love doth have strange actings upon the heart. And the maid to ask me in a very saucy fashion, that did be intention to anger me, what did I mean that she to need? And truly I said that she did go the way to earn that she be flogged like any boy, and I to mean actual all that I did say, which doth be something amaze me now, but as I do know, I yet to be constant stirred inwardly by her beloved quaintness that did be always so dainty, even when that she did mean her naughtiness to be truly to anger me. And lo, when I told the maid this thing, that she did be well to earn a sharp reproof, she turned in a quick instant and came close to me, all tender and small and to need to be nigh to me. And she slipped both her closed hands into the one of mine, and truly they did be little fists. And because I could be no more stern with mine own, I put mine arm about her, and she did nestle to me, so that all my being did want to be a shield about her. And she to hark very quiet and humble to my counsellings, and in the end did be so strangely hushed that I looked down to where her pretty face did be hid against mine armour, as she did love to do, when that I did be those odd whiles a little stern with her. And I held her face away from mine armour, and surely she did be smiling, very quiet and naughty, so that I perceived that she did be good only for that time, and did be like to show again this wrongful and impudent spirit. Yet I not then to be in trouble of the future, but to hope only that I do wisely, if that she show again this waywardness. And truly I to perceive now that I did be very young, but anywise, as you do know, I to act alway from the natural telling of my heart. And I shook Nanni a little, for this naughty spirit which did not be gone from her, for I perceived that my manhood had but stirred the woman in her to that strange quick humbleness that had seemed to be a quenching of her wayward unwisdom, and truly it had not been stilled, but only sunken for a little moment in the uprising of her dear nature which had responded unto me. And the maid to look at me from under her lids, as I did shake her with gentleness. And I to know that mine own did be a wondrous maiden, full of all life and spirit, and to be held wisely and to be loosed wisely, all as did be for the best to bring out the uttermost of her goodness, which did be in all her being, and to be very lovely, and to make me feel as that I did be a giant that held a white flower very tender, but I to feel also that I did be her master. And this may hap you to understand, if that you look into your hearts. And by all my telling, you to know that I did be very dainty with mine own maid, that did be all of daintiness, but yet I to be masterful, as did be my nature, and a very proper way it did be with the maid, so that she did be alway reasonable in the main. And this to come out of her love, which did have pleasure to know that I did be master unto her, all in the same while that she did fight to show that I did be otherwise. And truly, and in part by this same showing, you shall perceive that her naughtiness to come likewise from her love, and the way that my nature did work upon her. Now I to shake the maid very gentle, as I have said, and with much that did be of play, but in the same wise there to be also somewhat of tender reproof. And surely that naughty maid to spring very light upon her toes, and had kissed me sudden and dainty upon the mouth before that I did what? And I to put mine arm about her, and to give her a little hug, and immediately then to matters that did be practical, for I was eager to have come across that stony part of the journey that did be before us, as you do know, before that we look for a place for our slumber. And this eagerness of haste to be because of the great bird things which I had seen go bounding over that waste, when that I was upon mine outward way. And surely, after that I had thought a little moment, I bid the maid that she dress in her torn garments, so that these should be over the top of the armour-suit, and this wise to make a soft thickness upon the top of the armour-suit that should act for a cushion between mine armour and her dear body. But indeed the maid would nowise to do this thing, and I not to make her, because that my heart perceived how it did be with her. And her reasons to be some ways mixed, as doth be proper in all humans, and the more so when that it doth be a maid that hath reasons, as you to know, if that you have ever held such dear perverseness in your arms. And she, as I could know, to be strangely in love that her gentle body be bruised by the hardness of mine armour, and if this might not be, she to be not wishful that she wear her torn clothing upon her neat suit, and so to seem careless and to lack to be dainty in mine eyes. For indeed she did be alway to wash herself and to make tidiness, and she to have a way now that she did set the armour-suit upon her that had it to seem different, and she to have set a little sprig from the trees upon her breast and in her girdle, and so to seem the more of a maid. And surely a man doth know and love these things, but not alway to have full knowing how that they be done. And indeed you to be likewise with me in this thing, and we all to think we know, but somewise to be just alack when that it doth come to the proof. And in verity the maid to find a way that she be eased of the hardness of the armour, and I to have come to the same thing in the same moment. But truly I do think she had been able to think upon it a long while, if that she had been so desired. And truly this was but that I fold the cloak very thick across mine arms and breast, and to take her then into the little nest that did be prepared. And surely now that the maid might no more have her secret wish that she lie close against mine armour, she to be helpful, and to have the cloak folded so in a very quick while, and so to be into mine arms again, and we to be once more upon the journey, and she to nestle to me as that she did hunger to be nigh to me, and she to talk with me odd whiles and odd whiles to be silent. And once I to think that she wept a little, and to know that she did be like to think upon her father and her own peoples, but she to have her face turned to me, so that I could not but guess upon this thing, and she very soon to be hushed again of this sorrow, and to lie content in mine arms. And once, when that I had carried her for 3 hours, she to ask me that I kiss her, and truly I did kiss her, very gentle and with reverence, because that my heart did understand the holiness that did be in her heart at that moment. And surely as I kissed her, she to kiss me very tender, and I to know that some olden memory did be like to stir in her. And in a moment she to take her lips from mine, where she did let them to nestle very light, and did whisper mine olden love name, and I then to look at her, and her eyes to shine as the olden stars that did shine in the olden summers. And I to be too shaken even that I kiss her, but she to put her arms about my neck, and to look steadfast into mine eyes. And immediately after that she had looked a while, and I to have ceased from walking, she to put her hands upon each side of my face within the metal of mine headgear, where the guards did come down at the sides, and she to kiss me very sober upon the lips, but yet to mean utter by that kiss, and I not to return the kiss, for I saw that it did not be her need. End of chapter 13, part 1.